you can almost get to a point where you'll create ads where you will literally know exactly how to get high ROAS every single time. Like you'll be able to predict exactly what you need to do to make ads get crazy high conversions just by following this method. Today I want to discuss with you how we scaled to over $500,000 in the last 60 days and show you a little bit inside what goes on in an actual e-commerce company. I run an $8 million e-commerce company. We've been growing and scaling it for the last 8 years. I'm going to take you inside our Shopify dashboard, show you our ad results, and really show you guys what is actually working in 2024 and going forward into the year. So I've been seeing a lot of things online about how to actually scale ads, and there's some things that I noticed that I just am not in agreement with about how to actually scale an account. So I want to show you guys what we're doing and what's actually working today, rather than just talking about theory. I want to show you data. So we're going to have a look at that. But we've been able to, with company Gamenetics, we've been able to scale and grow this company to over 1 million followers on all of our socials, garnering over 1 billion views in total, and doing millions of dollars with our business. So I'm going to take you guys behind the scenes, but I remember when I was younger, starting out in e-commerce, I really didn't know how to run ads, let alone scaling ads. And I always used to be afraid of increasing budgets and, you know, not knowing whether they're going to be profitable or not, or being afraid to increase a budget, even if I'm seeing good results, and being afraid that it's going to overspend. All those questions, those concerns, we're going to go into today and really break down like how we actually did this and how you can apply into your business, so that by the end of this video, you can feel confident as an e-commerce owner to take that advice and take that insight and apply it into your business. So by the end of this video, be expecting to have clarity on exactly what to do. So let's get in the training, show you some results, and we'll go from there. So if I go to analytics and we have a look at the last 60 days, November and December, we did just over 550,000 in sales, which is pretty good, pretty happy with that. And on TikTok here, because we have a combination of Meta and TikTok, and a lot of the stuff we'll talk about today will spill over into Facebook ads as well, Meta ads. So November 1st through December 31st. Let's see here. So we did 178,000 on TikTok with 22,000. We had a 7.87 ROAS, which I don't think there's anyone that can show that higher ROAS for a couple of months of campaigns. So we have very, very high profitability on our campaigns, and I want to talk a little bit about like how to actually do that, because a lot of times, you know, you're talking about 1 ROAS, 2 ROAS, 3 ROAS, but we're talking about nearly an average of 8 ROAS. So let's really dive into talking about some of these strategies. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of discuss, I'm just going to do it live with you guys because I feel like that's the best way to showcase like what we're actually doing, rather than kind of just talking about theory. We're actually like showing you what we're doing. So we actually just recently ran a few new campaigns. So our ads aren't as high as we want them to be right now. They're just kind of still in learning. But I want to talk about scale a little bit more, particularly during last month. Now, obviously this is a higher month of the year typically, but I want to talk about like how we did it and what we're doing to carry that scale into the new year as well. So we ran a series of campaigns. You can see there's, you know, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, that we all ran through December that did sales. And honestly, like scaling and learning how to scale is, to be quite honest, it doesn't need to be complicated. And a lot of people try to complicate it. And we've just found a really simple method that works. And after, you know, testing lots of different things. And so if you're looking for more like a beginner's tutorial or like how to actually learn this stuff, I did make another video on my channel about how to actually run TikTok ads and set them all up. And I want to dive into a bit more deeper topics on this in the future. So if you do want to see those, make sure you subscribe. But I'll link that video here. But we're going to be diving into more like advanced scaling strategies. And at the end, I'm going to also give you guys something for free that will help you with kind of figuring all this out and doing this. So make sure you stick around to the end. So you can see here that we've got a few different campaigns. We have this campaign here, and then we have two here. So basically there's two main campaign structures that we follow. These two campaign structures, one is a smart performance campaign, very similar on Facebook. It's an Advantage Plus campaign. And the way that we do this is we basically set up some of our better creatives inside of a smart performance campaign, and we let it run. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail here in a second. And the other type of campaign we run is a CBO campaign. Now, the method in which we do the CBO campaign is set up a little bit differently than probably what you're familiar with, but it's called the DCT method, Dynamic Creative Testing, and that's how we kind of test creatives and see what works, and then we cycle them into our smart performance. So it's kind of like this method that helps us to continue testing and then get the most out of the best performing creatives. So for example, let's go and have a look at our smart performance. You'll notice that the budgets are all kind of lower, and kind of how we do this is like there's a method called surf scaling. I'm not going to dive into like the details of surf scaling. I could make another video on how to actually do it, and we could like maybe do one campaign live one day. I could like film, record myself doing a surf scaling campaign for a particular thing that I could show you guys how to do it. But our budgets scale up to, $5,000, $10,000 a day, and we scale them back as we go along. So that's why the budgets aren't as high. So let's look at one of these here. So this is our, we basically have two types of smart performance. So we have one CBO campaign, we have a smart performance campaign, but then the smart performance campaigns, we have two types. One is our holiday offer campaign, and one is our evergreen campaign. Evergreen campaign, for those who are unfamiliar with the term evergreen, it basically means that we're trying to run that campaign through all days of the year. So it's kind of like creatives that don't have any specific wording about, like, for example, a New Year's sale or a summer sale or a Black Friday campaign, right? So they're very specifically not to fit with those holidays. We create different smart performance campaigns for those holidays. So basically what we got here is one of our evergreen campaigns. So I'm going to open up this campaign, and what you'll notice is it doesn't have, any, you can't actually go into this. You got to actually view the data. So we go back to campaign, and the way that smart performance campaigns are set up is set up at the campaign level, where you select conversion, which we'll have a look at in a second. We just go to view data right here. And once we pull up this data, we're going to be able to see some statistics. So let's see if we can go, we're in December, cool. Okay, so this one particularly, we ran through the beginning to about the middle of the month in December. You can see here that we had a 20-cent CPC. We had about a 3.03 CTR, which was really high, really happy with that. And if we go into creatives here, we're going to be able to actually break down and see like what ads we were running. So the way we typically run smart performance campaigns is we'll run anywhere between like, say, 6 to up to 10, sometimes 12 creatives in each smart performance campaign. This just allows us to have a good amount of creatives to test, and then also have 2 different text variations, sometimes 3, but typically 2, 95% of the time, just 2. So you can see here that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ads. We can see the breakdown per cost. You can see here. Now, the cool thing about smart performance campaigns, if you're unaware of smart performance, is as we move more and more towards the ad platforms being able to be better at finding your audience, we do less and less of the manual targeting. We do less and less of the actual manual tasks in the ad accounts, because we have found in our experience that it doesn't work as well. So when you are trying to scale, I would highly recommend, if you are doing interest targeting or you're running cost cap and other things like that, I would highly recommend that you do your targeting to scale in open audiences. If you've got some data on your TikTok account right now, you have purchases, then I'd highly recommend running open audience campaigns without any targeting, and focus on the big mindset shift with this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is the mindset shift of not trying to set too many interests, hashtags and all that, but more focusing on how can we make the creative, the video and the text on the video, draw in our audience without having to necessarily find that targeting, because then TikTok can go out and find those good people for you and then draw more of those people to you based on the creative, which is going to work for you better long term anyway. Now, if you're starting a new ad account and you're looking to like scale right out of the gate, I don't recommend it. But typically on a new ad account, TikTok has no data. It doesn't know what you want to do, doesn't know your audience at all. So adding a little bit of interest can help. But if you have an account that you've already spent several thousand on, then this is what you would go with. So you can see breakdown cost per ad, and then we can scroll across to and see some other data like clicks and CTR. But what I like to do is we're just going to go custom columns and have a look at a few things. We're going to go to page event. We're going to go view content, total, add to cart total, initiate checkout, add payment info, and then complete payment total ROAS. And then we're going to go confirm. And this is going to give us some of the end of funnel events, the actual events that matter, right? So we can see here, we've got a lot of view content, website visits, we've got add to carts on these top 3. And then what we're going to be able to see here is our total ad payment, complete payment, and our ROAS. So you can see here that these top 3 ads that have taken most of the ad spend, ROAS, we've got 8.5 on this one, 6.5 on this one, 7.48 on this one. And so this helps us understand individually how the ads are performing. Now, in addition with Smart Performance is if you click on ad text, you're actually able to also see, we actually ran 3 texts here. So this was an anomaly for us. We usually run just 2 because it creates too many variations. But you can see here that we've got different ad text, and there's clearly 2 ad texts that performs better than the third. And so we can see this one with this ad text got 7.07 ROAS, and this one had 7.5. So we want to focus more on this text in the future as we refresh campaigns. So one thing I didn't look at was CPA, cost per purchase is basically what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and add that real quick. Actually, we already have it here. CPA. So we can see that this ad right here was $19 per purchase, and this ad was $31 per purchase. All these purchase amounts are within what we're trying to hit, but 19 is a lot lower. So what we could do is we could take variation of this ad and put it into a new campaign because this has a lower CPA. So, you kind of want to make sure you have enough creatives to test. And again, like creative is the most important part of scaling. So when we're talking in here and I'm showing you all these specifics and you're taking notes on exactly how to structure a campaign, like I'm telling you, it's 15% about the structure, maybe 20% about the structure of the campaign, and it's 80% about the creative. So the creative does include obviously the creative, the offer, the product you have, right? Like there's other elements to it as well. You've got to have a good product, you've got to have a good offer. But when it comes to ads and you've already gotten results and you've proven your product and your brand and it's getting sales, then it comes down to 80% of the creative when you're scaling ads. So pouring your resources into that rather than thinking about like what hack or strategy or tactic can I implement into ads to get it to scale more, like that's not, in my experience, there's not one way to do things, but that's what we've noticed. And I've been doing this for a long time. So that's kind of the evergreen campaign. The Smart Performance, and again, these creatives don't have any specific text. Now, you'll notice in that one there, we did have something about the $1,000 giveaway. That giveaway is specifically, we added that a little bit later in the campaign and added a third piece of text, but typically we don't do that in Evergreen. Yeah, so typically we'll run a bit less than 3. We usually run 2. So if I go into here, we got 2 cases or 2 ad text right here. So that's typically what we run for campaigns. Sometimes we do 3 to test different things, but typically it's just 2. So that's our Smart Performance Evergreen campaign. Now, let's talk about the DCT campaign. DCT campaign is set up as a CBO campaign. Now, the CBO campaign, the way that you want to structure that is you basically want to have, let me actually get out of this, a campaign set up. Within this campaign, you want to have 3 different ad sets. Right now, this was 2 because we were just testing. So you start with 2 testing ad sets. And then what you do is you create a winning ad set out of these 2 testing ad sets. So let me go back a little bit and just show you that structure. What was that DCT one? Okay, so you can see here, just ignore this other open here. This was a duplicate that we weren't using. So we got test open, and winning. So basically 3 different ad sets. You start with 2, and what you do is you create 2 ad groups for testing, and you put about 3 to 5 creatives in each of them. Now what you'll notice when we open this up is that there's a lot of ad creatives, right? So what you do is this campaign is meant to be able to be refreshed frequently. So when you start running a campaign, you have 3 to 5 ads in each ad group. Now this is a CBO, so the budget is going to be dispersed between the 2 ad groups that you're testing. So these 2 testing groups are going to both have about 3 to 5 ads in each. They're all going to be different, okay, different ads. And then in each of these ads, we're going to have 2 different ad texts. So you can see that in each ad, there's 2, right? There's 2 of the same, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. And they're all different. They're both a variation of the different ad text on each ad. So technically, let's say if you have 3 ads and you have 2 pieces of ad text for each one, then you're going to have a total of 12 ads, right? Instead of 6. So by doing that, we're able to extend the life because TikTok fatigues ads very quickly. So it extends the life of the ads and really helps us to see what's going to perform the best. So that's why we do that. Now, once you set up these 2 testing campaigns, 3 to 5 creatives per, then what you'll do is run them for a week and you'll start to notice there'll be certain creatives that will convert better. And what you want to do is you want to copy the best test ad group, one that's performing the best, has the highest ROAS or KPIs that you're trying to hit, copy it and rename it winning. Then you want to turn off any losing ads, and you want to keep the same ads that you copied out of the open or out of the test campaign in the winning. So keep 2 variations of those good ads on, and then turn off all the ads that aren't doing well. And so after another week, you'll see metrics will fill in. You'll start to see conversions again, and then you'll be able to make a judgment on, okay, which ones can we turn off? You want to turn off the ones that are in open or in the testing 2 ad groups, and keep the one that you copied in the winning, keep it on, right? Because it should have picked up sales and started to pull ad spend. Now the ad spend is being dispersed between 3 different ad groups. Now, in terms of refreshing this, you want to cycle in new creatives into these 2 open campaigns, these test campaigns. So you want to put in, like, let's say you turn off 2 ads, right? You want to put 2 more new ones in to test against the other ones to see if they convert better. And what you'll find is you'll still get good ROAS, good conversion rate in all 3, but you'll start to see outliers and creatives that are working better than others. And then you can put them and copy them into the existing ad group that's called winning, if it's a winning creative. And we just keep doing that week after week after week after week. We keep doing that. And that's kind of how we do things. So that is the DCT. Now, that's kind of breaking down the structure of our scaling campaigns and what campaign structures we have that we scale, but how do we now actually scale them, right? It's important to understand that's a structure of them, but now where do we take them? So when we go back to our Smart Performance evergreen one right here, the way that we do this is you can set a minimum budget of $70 a day on any Smart Performance campaign. So you have to start at the minimum of $70. And so the structure in which we do this is we typically are looking at the performance of the ads. We don't really touch anything for probably 2 to 3 days typically, unless we're aggressively trying to scale. Whereas if we get conversions within the first 24 hours or 12 hours, we may double the budget or we may increase the budget by 50%. But our general rule of thumb is we'll increase budgets either 50% or 100% off their previous budget, okay? That's the first thing that we do. And this goes both for, it's kind of just a general rule that we follow in our TikTok account. Typically, when it comes to our CPC, we are shooting for somewhere between 18 cents to 35 cents is generally fine, and that kind of optimizes over time and gets better. If we're seeing great returns, we won't worry too much about the CPC, but typically if you're under $1 for your CPC, you're looking good. Getting it to 50 cents is probably the goal. And then for your click-through rate, you want to be shooting for at least a 1%, right? You want to be at least getting 1% click-through rate. Now, in the beginning, when you're scaling and when you're kind of spending more money, you're going to find that your metrics are going to go all over the place because you are putting more money behind it and TikTok's still trying to optimize and figure out where to go. So just don't be alarmed about, seeing your metrics thrown off when you try and scale. But the goal here is that about every 48 to 72 hours, check in with the ads. And what you want to do is either increase the budget by 50% or 100% of your previous budget. So for example, let's say that we were on the Evergreen, right? We had just started running it. Let's kind of run through a hypothetical situation with you right now. And this is actually I'll actually run you through like what I was doing during December and how I was managing it. And I was actually managing it all on my phone. So I was managing all of the ad spend like through the Meta Ads app, and then also I had a browser pulled up with the TikTok ads. So whenever I was out, I literally pulled up the ad account, I checked it, and then I could scale the budget whenever I was out every 2 hours. So and that's more of the surfing scaling method, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. I guess we're talking about it a little bit now too. So how it worked is I would look at the campaign, and let's say that the ROAS was 6.82. I'm like, okay, that's well above KPI. Our KPI we're shooting for is at least around a 3.5 is our minimum KPI. So when we're getting a 6.82, I was like, okay, we're over double KPI, right? We obviously want to keep as high profitability as possible. So what I would come in here and do is I would change the budget and I would double it to 400. Now, the reason I would do it by 100% is because this campaign is doing so well that we have room. If the ROAS drops, it may still hold high. So we're going to, let's say, 2 hours into the day, right? Let's say at 9 a.m., we scaled it to 400. Now, what I'm going to make a note for is check in with the campaign around 11 or 12 o'clock that same day. So 12 o'clock comes around, I'll be looking at the campaign again. I'll be like, okay, can we scale this? Let's say that the campaign then drops to a 6.1, right? So campaign drops to 6.1. I'm like, okay, it's still holding strong metrics. Should I scale a little bit more? It depends on the day, how aggressively we were scaling, but again, just an average scaling day, and we were trying to surf. I'd probably increase it by 100 or by 50%. So 50% of 400 is going to be 600, so I'd scale it to 600. So now we're at around midday. ROAS is around 6.1. And let's say we run that for another 2 hours, right? We check in around 3 o'clock in the day. Let's say it's 3 o'clock. And the ROAS has dropped to like 5, right? So the ROAS has dropped to 5. So I'm like, okay, this KPI is not holding and we want to keep a higher KPI. I want to shoot for 6, even though our minimum is 3.5. Again, you could aggressively scale and keep going, but we want to hold that higher KPI. So then I would come in here, I'd edit it, and I would just go down about 50%. So I'm going to go down to... when you scale back, sometimes it's a bit less than 50%. So because it's still holding a high KPI, I'd probably scale it down. Let's just go to like 25%, so 450, right? I'm going to scale it down to 450 a day. Now, keep in mind that whatever you set the budget to, it's not actually going to spend that total amount as you continue to scale, right? Like it doesn't like the way that budgeting and setting a different budget on your campaign works is it doesn't now spend that amount of money like in a short amount of time to hit the, $2,000 budget a day. It'll just pace itself towards that amount if you had run it for 24 hours at that budget. So that's another misconception is like, I got worried too when I first run ads. I was like, well, if I scale it to $10,000 a day, isn't it going to spend $10,000 a day? It's not, okay? It's not. It's just going to get it on pace to spend that amount. And if you're checking it every few hours, then it's never going to happen. So now we're at, 5 o'clock at night. This is when peak hour starts to come around. If you're in the Eastern time zone, it's going to be only 2 o'clock, right, on the Pacific coast in the US. So, you're kind of coming into peak hour, but not really. So, let's say we check on the ads and the ads have gone up to 5.5. So I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm going to scale back up to 600, okay? I'm going to scale back up to 600. So now we've scaled back up to 600. We're going to check in around 7 o'clock Eastern time. So it's around 5 o'clock, or I guess it's around 4 o'clock Pacific. And our ROAS is back up to 6.2. We're like, okay, this is great, right? And we already know that typically when you're scaling, if you scale into the evening, you'll find that more sales come through the evening. Typically, if your market is the US, right? If you're in a different market, then you want to kind of look at what metrics and where you get most of your sales. Most of the sales come in the evening because people have more time. So let's say that we see some really good results, right? And ROAS jumps up to 6.3, and we've got tons more purchases at the higher budget. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aggressively scale again. I'm going to go to 1,200 a day. I'm going to confirm that. And now we're sitting at 1,200 a day going into the evening, and we're trying to maximize on the most sales we can, the most exposure we can get on our ads during that time. So let's say we check in around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and keeping in mind the time zone that you're in, right? And they're doing really well. They're holding strong. They're around a 6.2, and we want to keep scaling. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double the budget again. I'm going to go to 2,400, and this 2,400 is going to get us, moving that budget a lot faster, and it's going to continue spending throughout the rest of the night. And so I hope if I've illustrated for you a little bit of like my thinking process and how I go about things. General rule of thumb is 50% increases if the ROAS is like you're happy with it. If it's really good and really higher than you want it to be, scale it 100% and only check in every like 2 to 3 hours. I will say for those who may be curious, we have scaled campaigns every hour. I've noticed they do work. Just kind of, I don't do it very frequently. I try and keep it a 2-hour window so there's enough data to look at. But it's very important when you're doing this surf scaling with these campaigns, and this can be done on the Smart Performance. It can be done on the DCT campaign, the CBO campaign. It can be both done in the same method of scaling the budget. Is you want to be sure to keep an eye on your CPA, your cost per purchase, and keep an idea of your cost per click. Just to make sure your CPC doesn't go too high, or your CPA doesn't go too high where you're going to start being unprofitable long term, right? Because maybe your CPA is still lower, but you have much higher conversion value. So if your average value is $200 an order, but for some reason you've been getting $300 orders on this particular campaign, keep that in mind when you look at your CPA and it's a little high, because it could fluctuate very heavily quickly. So you just want to keep that in mind. So that's basically the method that you would scale both a Smart Performance and also a DCT. All right, so now let's talk about how to actually set these types of campaigns up. This is one thing that I don't see a lot of these scaling videos talk about, and I really want to showcase how to actually set these scaling types of campaigns up for you, just so it's really clear and clear and cut for you. So we're going to go to website conversion. We're going to turn on Smart Performance campaign. We're going to rename the campaign. Let's come down here. Let's just name it SP. You do the number of the Smart Performance that you're on, and we're going to call it open. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else you have to do here. It's pretty straightforward. So I just want to, really highlight this too, is like if you haven't spent money on your ad account yet, or you haven't done anything on your ad account that is generating sales or getting you momentum, then I don't recommend that you just jump into this and expect things to just go well for you. Like, you've got to give it time, and you should expect to spend money on your ad account so that TikTok can help you find your audience. Because at this point, if you don't have data of your audience, then no one's going to be able to, or TikTok's never going to be able to find who you're trying to target. So just keep that in mind, is like, don't expect results right out of the gate if you haven't run any ads on TikTok, because you need to spend money to collect that data. It's a very, very important part of this process. So, but in saying that, this campaign structures can still work for you in setting them up. Just don't expect results right out of the gate. So we're going to select the pixel. We're going to go to complete payment. We're going to leave everything on. Now, one big thing that there seems to be a lot of controversy around with setting up ads is like turning off comments. Like, why? Why do people turn off comments? Why is there always a reason for turning off comments? And I'm going to be honest, I feel like the main reason is people don't want to manage the comments. I think that, there's all these excuses about why you shouldn't have comments on and why it sounds like a good idea. But I'm here to tell you that what we've noticed is that interacting with your audience seems to help conversions. I mean, just look at our results. 7.87 ROAS average. Do you see anyone else getting that kind of results? I don't think so. So there's things that we do. Obviously, this is the campaign structure that we run. I'd highly recommend having comments on. Now, cool thing about comment management is that you can hide a comment, which basically means that the person who made the comment will still be able to see it, but it will be removed from the ad. No one else will see it. So they won't see like, oh, if they went back to check on the ad, like they'll still see that comment there, right? So that's a good thing because then they'll get mad about you deleting their comment. So user comments are good because it shows engagement, it shows trust, it shows the ability to be able to communicate with the brand from the customer side, and then people who are looking at the ad will pop up the comments and look at what you're saying and how you're responding, and actually helps them convert more into sales, or at least going to check out your website. So I'd highly recommend just keeping user comments on and just manage them. The way you manage them, just go to tools and then comments right here under audience. So that's pretty straightforward. And then audience targeting, usually keep it on all audience, all languages, and location United States. We've seen that just work the best for us. If you're advertising in a different country, recommend maybe finding English is the best language if you're advertising in English, the countries, because maybe there's lots of different types of languages there. But we've just always kind of run campaigns this way, and we got no targeting, right? So like this is completely open. There's no interest targeting. There's no hashtag targeting. There's no segmented audience targeting. It is just completely open. And that's how we run Smart Performance. We let the creative do the targeting. And that's what I want you guys to really take from this is I'm going to showing the structure and everything, but the creative piece of this is so much more important. And if you'd like me to make a video on how to actually make profitable creatives and really breaking it down, like all the details, leave me a comment below and I'll plan on making a video like that. Budget-wise, $70 minimum. So $70 is the minimum for the Smart Performance, but we usually start at around $150 to $250. That's because we've run these before and we know that they work. So, if you've got a lower price product, our average order value is like $190, $200. So we have to spend a little bit more to get those conversions. So you might be a bit lower, $70, $100 might be just fine for you. So set whatever starting budget. We don't do any day parting. We find that when we do day parting, it kind of messes with the way the budget's distributed. A lot of people will talk about day parting and kind of follow that rule, but we don't do it. We haven't found that it makes a big effect. And there's lots of people that talk about day parting and they talk about, setting up the campaigns to start at the midnight and 6 a.m. And to be honest, like we've never done that. And I think that a lot of it has to do with some sort of placebo effect of like, oh, well, because you've gotten all the results this one way, that's the only way it works. And I can kind of fall victim to that as well, honestly, is like the way you run campaigns. But we've never day parted and done ads. We've never set to start ads the next day. Like it's always just been right away. And sometimes we get sales in the first hour. So I'd recommend just leaving it all as it is. TikTok will day part kind of for you, day part where like it won't spend as much during the late night of the hour or late hours of the night. And distribute it kind of in more of the prime time. So it kind of does a little bit of that already. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Optimization goal, just make conversion. Bid strategy, maximum delivery. Make sure that you have your attribution window settings on 28-day click and 7-day view. Just kind of opens up the attribution window as high as possible. Attribution window is basically allows you to track. Like, for example, if someone purchases a product 3 weeks later, it's still going to track on your ad account. You're going to see that person came from a TikTok ad. So that's really important data for the TikTok ad account to have. So make sure you've got that attribution window all the way set out. Actually, one thing that I wanted to talk about while we're here is in events. So if you guys go to events, I might have to make another video on this. If you go to events and you go into the events, you want to check that your view content, your add to cart, your purchase, ad payment info, all those main metrics. Make sure you change the window, the click and view windows to the maximum windows of time. So I think 1 to 7 day and then 7 to 28 day. Make sure you go and change that because that's going to help your ad account in the beginning, especially as you scale. You want to count every. Okay, so now we get into the creatives. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload some creatives, and I thought it might be helpful just to kind of show this whole process because even though I know you guys obviously run ads already, like I just wanted to show you like how these scaling campaigns are actually set up. We're probably going to have, that's what I thought. So because we've already uploaded these ads before, I'm just going to have to rename them to put them in. So we're just going to quickly rename these ads because we've already run them before. So you can't have the same named ads in your campaigns. Something to do with the metadata. And again, like, I don't know what other people who talk about running ads, like, I don't know what you've seen or heard, but can tell you that a lot of these people who talk about all this other, woo-wah stuff about, day parting and setting its schedule at a certain time and erasing metadata, like all this stuff is just, we haven't seen it affect our account. We're getting double the ROAS that most of these other people are getting. So this is just how we're doing it, and it's working for us. So I know it will work for you too. Now, the other thing to keep in mind too, as I haven't mentioned, is that we also have an agency. So like we run these ad campaigns for our clients too. So all of our ecom brands we work with, like we run these same ads. So this ecom brand is founded and owned by myself, and I run this brand. And then the other brands, I have a team that helps us manage these other ecom brands. So yeah, we have quite a bit of experience doing this stuff. So with the ad text, basically what you want to do is we want to add 2 different ad texts that's going to talk about our offer. So let's just go like 30% off for a limited time and soon, ... And then let's add another one. Let's say let's see. We could do like up to, well, actually, we should probably be up to 30% off on top. And then we can say, get your 30% off now. Ends 131, right? So a little bit different variation, focusing on the offer. I'd recommend the ad text is focused on your offer. Primarily, or your unique value proposition. So for example, with GameNetics, we're the world's most customizable controller in the world. So we might include that into our ad text in addition to kind of any freebies you get. So for us, like if you have a case, if you have something that you give away for free as part of every order, then include it here, right? Like one thing that we do is we hand sign the technicians that build the controllers. They hand sign when they're finished building a controller, and that's shipped out with the order. So there's things that make you unique, that make you stand out, that you can incorporate into these. And I would recommend kind of utilizing that. So looks like we have, okay, looks like they're being pulled in now. So we've got like 6 ads in here. We got 2 ad texts we're going to run. This is going to give us a total of 12 ads to run. And we don't run Spark ads. So typically we have run Spark ads in the past and they do work. But, typically we find that, uploading those null ads, we get better results. Spark ads work well for engagement purposes and helping you to build your account up if you're running like brand awareness campaigns. But for conversions, this is what we always do. So beyond here, you just want to put your URL. So for us, it's going to be, just go grab it, GameNetics.com. Actually, typically we send them to the builder. So we're going to send them to this page. This is our builder page. So this is like the best landing page for us because people can basically come in here and, they can add their modifications like mouse click triggers and bumpers, and they can change like the color of their parts and stuff. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in that URL right there. And we're going to wait for these videos to upload. Looks like they're done, and that's it. And then everything here, like for example, typically we'll put like, we use triple well, we'll put like a triple well UTM in here, or some other UTM to track where the sales come from. So we can put that in here as well with the URL. And then that's basically it. So we've got everything set up for a smart performance. Everything is set up to run, and then we're going to hit submit and we're going to be good to go. So that is the smart performance campaign. Now, if we're going to exit out of this, we're going to do another one, show you how to set up the DCT campaign. So basically what you do with the DCT campaign is if we go to create another ad, we're going to go to custom, and then we're going to do a same type of campaign. We're doing website conversions, but we're not going to select smart performance. Okay. So we're going to call this DCT campaign DCT campaign 5. We're going to do a campaign budget optimization or set campaign budget. So basically, these two things, you have campaign budget optimization, which is a CBO, and you have set campaign budget. We've noticed they kind of do the same thing. So, they're going to basically, optimize the budget. But, for the sake of this, we basically want the optimization. So we're going to go ahead and click campaign budget optimization. To be quite honest, I don't really know the big differences between those two, but we've always run the CBO. So we're going to set $50 is the minimum budget for a CBO. So we're going to set 50. You can do $20 a day as ad group at the ad group budget, so an ABO campaign. So we're going to set 50. Typically, you'll probably start at I'll just put in what we usually start at. We usually start around 150, maybe 125. So we're going to go, that's it, go to next. Now with this same thing, we're going to go to Pixel, we're going to go to complete payment, we're going to go to select payments, we're going to turn off Pangle. We've been kind of experimenting with advertising through CapCut and other methods. We found that it does get some sales, but for simplicity's sake right now, we're going to just keep it on TikTok, include search results. Down here, we're going to go to targeting. We're not going to do any saved audiences. We're going to do United States. We're going to do all gender, unless your product is gender specific. I would recommend do all. 18 to 55 is something we did a lot in the beginning, but in all the recent campaigns, I'll kind of show you here when we jump out, is we actually do target all. So what we'll find is that we will get some of this audience, but there's a big unknown category that I can also show you that shows that there's the age is unknown. So that targets a lot of these other people. If you select an age, it's going to disclude those people, or not include, sorry. It's not even a word, disclude. Okay, all household income, don't mess with that. Highly recommend not messing with that. Interests and behaviors, don't mess with that. Keep it completely open. Again, we'll let the creative do the targeting. If you want me to make a video about creative, then please let me know down below in the description. No start, set start date. We got goal, we got conversion, right? We got maximum delivery, attribution settings all set up the same, and we're going to go next. That's pretty much the exact same as a smart performance. There's nothing to overthink, stress yourself out about how to set up this campaign. So now we're going to do the same thing. Now with this, we're going to be setting up a couple of different campaigns. So the way we're going to do this is the ad group is going to be open, which we just went through. And now we're going to be adding a few creatives. So for this purpose, we're going to add, we'll just add 3 creatives here, because we're doing 3 to 5 ad creatives per campaign. And we're just going to go ahead and upload. These are going to upload. And we're going to let those load. So now text. Now with a DCT, we only want to have 2 pieces of ad text. So we're going to do, let's say, maybe you have a buy one, get one deal, right? So buy one, get one with up to 30% off. Limited time only, right? Maybe that's our text. Now I think we select the smart creative ad. They move stuff around here all the time. So we're going to select smart creative ad. Looks like I've frozen it here for a second. And we should be able to customize multiple text. Let's turn that back on. There we go. So make sure you have smart creative ads on, and then come down here and we have ad text. So now we have 2. So let's go buy one, get one with up to 30% off. I'm just going to say ends 131, add a new one, say up to 30% off now with buy one, get one deals, right? So basically we have 2 different variations that we can test to see which ad text performs the best. And then everything that we're doing at this point is we're then going to be able to take these results and what we're getting here and then turn it into the next campaign, right? So we're continuously testing. Though we're scaling, we're continuously testing different ad texts. We're continually testing the best creatives, and we're iterating on the creatives. So we talk about creatives, right? Getting new creatives. Most of the time, what we like to do in this is we don't want to have different hooks Like what classifies a new creative doesn't necessarily mean a completely new video. But in this case, we don't want to be just changing the first 3 seconds of every ad creative. We want to be actually dramatically changing the creatives so they're all different so that we get a better indication of the data on what's actually working better. Once we know what's working better, we can then make more of that same creative and then cycle that into a new campaign to scale it even more. Because what will happen is sometimes what you'll do is you'll try and start scaling a campaign and it won't be able to scale to the point that you want it to, and you'll start to see it drop off. But if you start getting better and better and you find out what creatives work best in converting, you can almost get to a point where you'll create ads where you will literally know exactly how to get high ROAS every single time. Like you'll be able to predict exactly what you need to do to make ads get crazy high conversions just by following this method. So it's pretty crazy. So now we've got all these ads in. Looks like they're still uploading, but basically what you'll do is you'll put on your URL here, right, where you're sending people with UTMs if you have them, and make sure everything's all done. Yeah, we're just waiting for the creatives to upload. And so then we're going to just go ahead and submit the campaign. And we're going to basically duplicate this exact same ad group. And we're going to delete the creatives that are in there, put in 3 new creatives, but we must keep the same ad text. Okay, don't change the ad text. We want to keep that variable the same. We don't want to be testing like another 2 ad texts because then there's too many variables in the campaigns. So once that's all done, we basically then have 2 ad groups that are running within a CBO. And then we let that run for a week. We kind of let it optimize and figure it out. And then once we get through the first week, we're going to see specific ads, break it down to the ad level, see what ads are converting the best. And then we'll copy the new ad that's working the best into a new ad group in the same campaign. And then let that continue to run and see kind of like if it picks up sales because you're trying to copy it into the winning ad group where you're going to be putting all your winning creatives into. So when you have another winning creative, you can just duplicate and put it in an existing campaign and pick the winning campaign. So then you would have 2 winning creatives in the winning campaign. So that's kind of the method, and that's the strategy that you go through. And it looks like right now our creatives aren't finishing uploading, like it's frozen or something. So hopefully that makes sense. We're just going to duplicate this campaign, put in 3 new creatives, keep the same ad text, and then set it live again. So you have 2 ad groups within the CBO. So that is how you set up both campaigns. So we're going to exit here and just want to kind of finish off on some thoughts here on scaling to help you guys. So this is going to really give you kind of the start to finish of what's working. Now, I will say that typically we implement the same method on Facebook. So if you were interested in seeing our Facebook ad strategy, I think we did over $100,000 on Facebook last month, I believe, pretty close to, and we did 106,500 on TikTok. If you'd like to see that, I think we got over 6 ROAS as well. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. I can break that down for you as well. But we're running DCT campaigns, Advantage Plus, very important for us to help kind of have those campaigns cycle into each other. But if you really want to learn more about how to get these high ROAS creatives where you can really heavily scale because they're so profitable that you can scale much more heavier and beat your competitors' creatives, then let me know. I can make a video breaking down those creatives. And, I actually want to make a video coming up probably next where I do go into a bit of the creative stuff. So if you have specific questions on that, I think that makes the most sense to make a video on that next. So I'm going to be breaking down and showing you like actually what's working for us in managing, $350K a month in revenue and how we're making creatives. So really appreciate you guys here. Like make sure that if you are interested in getting that free download, go down below and get that. That's going to basically be your ROAS calculator to help calculate what CPA you need, what metrics you need to actually be profitable. That's a great resource that we use all the time to make sure we can calculate exactly what we need to be hitting in order to have profitable ads and have an idea of our numbers. So I recommend going down below and getting that, making a copy. And if you are interested in looking into scaling your business and you'd like some help with that, then I do have a coaching program. And you don't have to go down and click the link, but I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and see if we can help you and might make sense for you to work with me. If not, we'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much.